All right, we are recording. So those who couldn't attend, will be able to watch it afterwards. I just wanted to call, I guess give people an opportunity to stay up to date on what's happening with State 4-H Horse Show and things related to that since we don't have the fairgrounds next fall, as all of you or most of you are aware of. So I just wanted to give you a heads up of what we do know so far and what we're planning, what we're thinking about. I do want to open it up. If you have questions about anything, please ask them. I'll answer what I can answer. If I don't know, I'll tell you we don't know yet because this is it's a huge, I guess, change and a lot of information exchanging hands and being created to reset up a horse show at another venue. So it's taken a lot of time and effort. So I can share with you what we know so far. I can also share what we don't know, but what we're working on and how we're planning to progress. So please just unmute and ask your questions if you have them. Feel free. There'll be times throughout this thing where there's an option for questions, but you don't have to wait till then. I don't want you to forget your question. So ask them as we go. Okay, so the purpose today is really to update horse families. So you're going to see this PowerPoint is similar to the same one we used with the horse families. We had a webinar with them to kind of keep them up to date. You will have a little bit more information than they have as we go through this, just because I think it's important for staff to know where we're at. And there's some things that I can share with you that I wasn't willing to share with the families yet because things are not 100% finalized. So you will get more information than what we shared out to them last week. So we all know that the State Horse Show has to move locations due to the fairgrounds remodel of the Coliseum for this next fall. And we searched hard and long to find what we felt like was the best option for a venue. While we know it's not ideal, it's really, we think, the best option that we had, taking all things into consideration. So not only for our needs, but we also work hand in hand with a couple other organizations that will help us in the long run by holding our event at this other location. So what we do know, and this sounds funny, but we'll be having what we're kind of calling two state shows this year. So the horse classes, the main show, the first one will be held at Simon's Arena in Cannon Falls. And that will be September 5th, which is a week earlier than our normal state horse show would have been. And it will go a day longer. So it will be a Friday through a Tuesday, where normally our horse show goes Friday through Monday. But because of the switch to Simon's Arena and the facility being significantly different than what we have available at the state fair, we had to extend a day just to ensure that we could get all the classes in. And at that first show, quote unquote, we'll be running all our games, pleasure, equitation, horsemanship, trail training. All of those horse classes will be held at that venue on that weekend. So the difference is, and I guess I can give you a little bit of background of why we chose Cannon Falls. But for one, they're willing to work with us, had open available dates. Two, we're working hand in hand with Champ Show or WSCA because we rent stalls from them currently. So all the stalls that are normally in the cattle barn at our state show are owned by WSCA. And between the two of us, they were looking at venues, we were looking at venues, we were talking together, and they felt that their best option was Cannon Falls. And because we used their stalls were already going to be set up for their event. So it just made sense. And then we're also able to share some costs. So there'll be some upgrades being made to Simon's Arena to make sure that we can do things as similar or better than we've done in the past. So some of those are going to be cost shared changes. So it's in our best interest to kind of walk hand in hand with WSCA. And I won't say share the facility because they're separate dates, but we are sharing things that are happening at that venue. So that's a little bit of the reason why it was Cannon Falls. It is really hard to find a venue that can house us. There is none that can house us the same as the state fairgrounds does with camping, with all of those things. But Simon's I guess would say probably is the closest or what we feel would work the best and be able to make things work. So when I say second show, what we're doing is because we have so much that happens at the State Horse Show at the state fairgrounds that we're not able, because of size and restrictions of a lot of different things at Simons, to be able to hold everything that we hold at State Fair. Building space, all of that stuff plays into that factor. So we are securing another location. So the weekend of September 13th and 14th, which is what our normal State Horse Show would be on, and that's just a Saturday, Sunday. We'll be holding our hippology, horse judging, speech and demo, our state miniature horse contest, and our state drill team contest on that weekend. But that'll just be a Saturday, Sunday. We are working on contract right now, so it's not public, but I will tell you we are working with Sauk Center. Stearns County Fairgrounds is where the plan is for that, and we are working on that contract right now. The only thing we need to do now, it's all been approved, other than we need to secure and decide what buildings we need use of. But that isn't public yet. The only thing that's been made public is it'll be in central Minnesota. So hold that under your hat until we get that 100% finalized on location. But that is in process. So that'll be centrally located for that event, which we're calling kind of our second state show. And by having some horse events there and our non-horse events there, we feel like we'll have a good crowd of people, so it will feel like they're not singled out. It won't feel isolated, that it'll have the capacity and the spectators and the things happening, that both of them will feel like significant events, and we're going to make them both feel like a state show. But we just, because of size and scope of everything, had to break it up kind of into two groups. So questions on that so far? Okay.
Renee, there's one in the chat. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yep.
I said yes, but I don't know if you want to talk about it. It says here, we're going to know what classes show went ahead of time. September 5th through the 9th is asking families to take 2 to 3 days out of school.
Yep. So I think I get to that in a minute here. A little bit more about the schedule. So hold on to that thought. If I don't get to it, I will do that. So I will tell you that our plan is not, because of the extended days, it won't affect everybody. So their time away won't be different than it has been in the past. As far as how we've worked that out. I will tell you that right now, we are unsure yet about horse-related and horseless horse, about which of those events that's going to fall in, or if there's a potential of doing two different judging opportunities, one at each event. So those kids who have horses could maybe get judged at the first one, and those kids without those horses or who are coming for just hippology could get judged at that. But I'm not sure where that's going to fall yet. So just know that that one is kind of undecided at this time in the schedule. Um, you know what? Yeah, so I'll talk about it here. Simons Arena. So we're working jointly, as I said, with WSCA and Simons Arena to make it work for both shows. Currently, Simons has 350 stalls, and then we'll have the WSCA stalls available. So we'll have the same number of stalls that we have currently. Because right now, the State Fair Horse Barn has 450 stalls, but we don't use all of them because the ones in the back, some of them are single tie stalls, and we never use those. We only use their box stalls. So we utilize about 350 stalls currently in the horse barn at the State Fair. Simons has 350 indoor stalls. WSCA will be setting up their stalls outside, but they will be covered. They're working on that right now. We'll probably end up sharing costs on what that covered or what those tent type situations look like. But WSCA is working on that now. So we will have the same number of stalls available. Now, one thing to note, and this is why we haven't exactly figured out how stalling is going to work yet, is because the stalls at Simons are 8x8, which are smaller than state fairs. And I know there's some concern with some of the really larger horses, some of your English horses, that an 8x8 stall is not ideal in size for some of those larger horses. So that is next on our list to tackle, is the stalling situation. So I can't tell you at this time if counties will be stalled together, if there will be options for people potentially to travel in, travel out, which they have now. Currently, we don't require them to stay at State Horse Show at State Fair. But next on our schedule to really start hammering out is the stalling situation. But I just wanted to let you know there will be enough stalls available that those who want stalls and those who sign up will be assigned a stall. Simons is also a little bit unique in that it has one indoor and one outdoor arena. Both are great quality. The footing is great in both, but as you know, with an outdoor arena, bad weather makes that a challenge. So right now we're working on a good weather and a bad weather plan. So we have, I would say, our schedule 99% figured out of how it will look with a good weather plan and how it will look with a bad weather plan. So with the good weather plan, the schedule, and that's kind of the bad weather plan is the reason that we have to tack on an extra day on Tuesday. Just if it's bad weather and we need to move everyone out of the indoor or outdoor arena to the indoor arena, our days are going to be longer, they're going to be full, and it's going to push us out an extra day. With the good weather plan, if it all goes as it plans, we still have that Tuesday, but in the good weather plan, each evening will be done at a reasonable time. Instead of going to 11 or 11:30 at night, they'll be done somewhere between, I would say, 5 and 7, which will give us some downtime for those kids, which isn't all a bad thing. But we are working on planning additional activities that will be supervised fun activities. So some contests, mixers, a dance, and those kind of things that will occupy that unscheduled time in the case of a good weather plan. So we will have that at our fingertips to pull out. But they will also know we are working on trying to figure out what our best way of communication is during the show, so that if we have to switch our plan midstream because of inclement weather or incoming inclement weather, that how do we notify people of that? But there will be a good weather plan and a bad weather plan published so that they're clear about that. And when we talk about the schedule, this, I guess, relates to the question that had come in. We really have worked hard to be able to lump our classes versus having carryover and crossover. So when I say that, I mean that on Thursday when people come in, on Friday and Saturday, only Friday and Saturday, we are going to get all of our games classes done, good weather and bad weather plan. So if you are a gamer, unless you're doing ranch, you are going to be done on Saturday. And have no additional classes. If you have gamer that happens to ride ranch, then Sunday morning is when ranch is planned, and then they'll be done. So they won't miss any more school than they had potentially missed in the past. So if you're a gamer, you're going to potentially miss Thursday and Friday, because Thursday's move in. If you're a pleasure person, you're going to potentially miss Monday. Tuesday only is English riding. So if you're not in English, you're only Western, you're only going to miss Monday potentially in classes, unless your county carpools and transports together where they have to wait. We really tried hard to consolidate and group people in so that they wouldn't have to miss any more school. We just need, with a bad weather plan, to be able to extend to Tuesday. Tuesday with the plans will be a shorter day with just the English happening that day anyway. So it isn't a long drawn out process, but we tried to do a better job of lumping disciplines together so that they could come and go if they needed to. Because we also know our spectator seating potentially is also more limited than the Coliseum has been in the past. So that second horse show, or that weekend of the normal state show, is tentatively the mini horse show on Saturday. So miniature horse will be all day, pretty much all day Saturday. Hippology, horse judging, and speech and demo. And then Sunday will be the state drill competition. So that'll be a little bit more spelled out too. So as they can do it, they can come and go. We'll clearly have those scheduled hammered out a little more. We're working right now on hippology, horse judging, and that to figure out that part of the schedule. But we know miniature horse is going to start on Saturday morning and run till it's finished, probably late afternoon. And drill, same thing, on Sunday morning. We'll start and run until it's finished on Sunday. Questions so far on those? On scheduling and that kind of thing. And as soon as we have them finalized, we have had a team working hard on the schedule. Now's time we want to get some new sets of eyes on it who are familiar with the State Horse Show so they can really review it to ensure that the initial planning group didn't miss anything, that they feel it flows. So it's in the second set of eyes right now. And then we'll be able to make it public shortly after that.
Renee, I put in the chat that there will not be any regional mini or drill this year, correct?
Yep, that's correct. I think that's coming up, but I think that is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the qualifiers. So changes. Miniature horse. In the past, we've had regional qualifiers, the same with drill team. We are not doing those this year with that change. So all teams who are registered or want to register for miniature horse, horse and rider combo, again, they can still only take one horse per class. Will be able to sign up for those state events. So there is no qualifier to get there. Same with drill team. We're foregoing qualifiers for a couple of reasons. For one, cost effectiveness, because we really don't know what the state show is going to cost us. But mainly for two, we also aren't locked into at the state horse show, the old state horse show at the fairgrounds, like state drill, for example, was locked into a time frame of 1 to 6. So we had to limit the number of teams to know we could get them in that time frame, where we aren't locked into that same time frame this year. So we felt this year that we would open that up to all teams that register, can attend and come and participate in state, compete, get their feedback from the judges, and move forward. Regular show quotas, we are not looking at changing them. Even with the change in location, we feel that we can accommodate our same quota structure as we have in the past. So if it comes up to you, we are not reducing our quotas or not putting new formulas in for this state show. It will be the same formulas as we've used in the past based on last year's participation. So no reduction in numbers on regular quotas either. Questions on those? Perfect. Other updates, just so you know, I am looking for a state 4-H drill team chairperson or co-chairs. I have a role description I can send out to you. It went out to families, with an application that was sent out with the description. Where we're looking for a motivated person to fill this role or two people to fill this role. They don't necessarily have to be an expert. They don't have to be a coach. They could be. But if you know someone in your county who would be really good at helping us to coordinate some of the state drill team things, I don't think that the time commitment's not gigantic, but it is helping, especially this year, because it will be helping to run the state show. We won't have the regional shows involved. And then being a liaison between the state PDC and the drill team committees. So helping just keep those coaches letters that would go out and those kind of things. So not a huge commitment, but if you know someone in your county, I really am looking for a couple drill team people who could step up and be that state chairperson. It's not a lifetime commitment. They don't have to commit to be there for the next 30 years. So if that's a selling point, that's a good thing. Although we'd love to have them, if they're good at what they're doing, we'd love to have them stay on, but we aren't asking for a lifetime commitment either. So if you know someone, let me know or reach out to them and have them get a hold of me. Horse Protection Act. I know this has been important on everyone's mind of what's happening. The HPA or Horse Protection Act is being implemented by a federal law. It was supposed to go into effect February 1, but now it's been pushed to April 2nd. It will not have a large effect on 4-H shows. And I know there's been kind of scariness about it, thinking, oh my gosh, we have to hire inspectors, we have to do that. We don't feel like that's going to be necessary. This HPA is not really, it's not really after us. What it is about is prohibiting sword horses from participating in shows, auctions, and sales. 4-H doesn't have that clientele or that type of participation in horse. So we're really not the ones they're looking for. We have a very limited amount of Tennessee walking horses and racking horses in our program, and those that are in the program aren't doing what they're looking for. So if you aren't if you don't know what soaring horses is, there's a lot of different things they can do. They can inject with caustic chemicals. They put caustic chemicals into their feet. They put painful things in, and you can see on this one, on their feet to make them step higher, because when they put any weight on them, it's painful, because that's what they want to see, is the higher stepping. It's really an abuse and cruelty type scenario, and we just don't see it in 4-H. So we are really not the one that this Protection Act is being geared to. And what I'm hearing nationwide from our group, who's in contact with the USDA, who will have to implement this, is that it really feels like that we will probably have to just apply for a permit, update the permit, and then report any problems afterwards. And that permit would be free. It may end up being a part of what we already have to apply for, or fair boards do. So that's what we're still waiting to find out, is who's responsible for that. Is it the fair board who applies for your license to have your horse shows or that county fair event? Or is it someone different based on that? But we really don't think it's going to have as big of an effect on 4-H as people had thought initially. There's also concern because the USDA has been asked to potentially provide inspectors, which if you don't have an inspector at your show, they can send one out to inspect you if they so choose to, but they don't have currently the number of people to enact that at every show that's going to be held either. And they're going to look at, we believe, look at 4-H and the number, and they may have us submit our number of potential horses that they would be looking for, and we don't feel like we're big enough that they're going to worry about us. They're looking for the big shows that have more of this abusive type thing that's happening in them. But stay tuned. I'll let you know as we know more about what our expectations will be and whether it's ours or fair boards or someone else's responsibility. But I really don't think it's going to add a lot to us, like budget wise, work wise, any of those things. I just don't see it happening. So you can ease your mind a little bit on that, I think. Questions on that? Okay. County's chance to update horse points and trip distribution. As hopefully all of you know, but there probably are a few out there who are new staff who may not even be familiar. In 2015 and 16, which has been 10 years ago, we asked counties to go through their process of how points were assigned in their counties and how their trips were distributed. And there's a worksheet with instructions. So what we had found out at that point, just a little bit of background, was that there were 84 different ways that counties were doing it. And not that it was inequitable, but we got pushback on it, and we really felt like this is one program, not 84 different programs. And what happens in one county should be equal to what happens in another county about how you earn a trip, because we are one horse program and we're all vying for the same state trip, and it shouldn't be different. But also recognizing that each county is a little bit different. Your big counties versus your small counties. So the process helps you kind of walk through a thought process and make some decisions as you go through it in your groups. And why it's important to have it on file is we ask that you'll turn in a new form, even if you don't make changes to the old one, if they decide to stay the same, or if they make changes, to submit a new one on a Google type of form so that we have them available. And it's important to have them on file for multiple reasons. If you have problems, or someone like has a discrepancy or appeals or says that's not fair, or this isn't right, then it's easier for us, as you know how they jump the chain sometimes and move up the chain. It's easier for me then to pull and say, this is how they did it, and this is why, this is the choices that were made, and yep, they were doing it right, and this is how, to be able to talk through that with families. And it's also important to have families and volunteers understand that system, so that transparency is hugely important for families, and kids, because if you're vying for a trip or you're working for a trip, you should know what you're working for or how to earn that trip. So you know what to be practicing, know what to be working on, you know what your chances are. So counties will be allowed to change their options and complete a new form online to be kept on file. We are going to be offering trainings for counties. So I really encourage you to have a small team of volunteers, whether it's 1, 2, 3, trained on the point system. And we're actually going to be doing that training at the next statewide update. So I had told families that I would try and update them on changes as they come so that people can be on board with what's happening with the changes in state show as we know them and help to understand them so that we're all on the same page and it's not a big shock when it comes closer to state horse show. So on February 26th, which is a Wednesday, we are offering a full like points training so they understand how points are, who gets points, that no red ribbons earn points, and how do tiebreakers work so that everyone can ask those questions and that your teams can be trained on that system and that they're aware that your county has a form on file and that they need to be following it and that we can hopefully answer some of those questions that might pop up at their shows. That sometimes they just make their best judgment, but sometimes they don't know how to handle those scenarios. So we're hoping to offer that. We are offering that training on February 26th that evening, along with our next update for families. So I will be sending out a message to you guys all with just that information. Probably by Friday this week. So be prepared. I know there are some counties who are already working on updating them. It's been 10 years. Some of them have changed in between because they've had significant changes. When you fill out these forms and put them on file, we ask, unless there's a significant reason to change them, that we keep them the same for 3 to 5 years before we review them again, because we don't want families or parents to be manipulating the system to make it better for their family, even though they might make it sound like it's great for the county to make different changes and decisions. Sometimes it's not, and they're manipulating that system. But if there is, you have a high flux or change in your demographics for state horse show, meaning all of a sudden you've got a big influx of games riders or a big influx of pleasure riders that's really different or unique. We certainly wouldn't make you stay in that, but what we would ask is that you request a change in your process and why it needs to be changed and how it should be changed and how it will impact you. And then we can walk through it, ask questions with you, and then decide if it's really in the best interest of your county to make those changes. So not off the table to change them at any time, but we ask that they put some thought into their decisions right now so that it can be longer term. So tomorrow's webinar, I did set one up for you guys tomorrow. If you can join, if you can't, it will also be recorded, but it's going to really walk through from how you decide points and what you should think about as your county decides points, what point system it should use, to all of those nuances. So the same type of training that the volunteers are going to get, but a little more geared towards you guys. So that'll be available tomorrow. Look at what time. You got an email about it. No, I'm lost on the time here. Oh, it's because I'm in the wrong
Renee,
day.
it's at 10 a.m.
Yes, thank you. I was totally on the wrong date in February. So 10 a.m. tomorrow, if you want to join and be updated, or if you feel like you have questions about how points should work, or if you just want to kind of know so that when they ask the questions or how you would guide them in, should I choose a 6-point system or a 10-point system? Should we have classes by age division or should we put them all together? We'll just talk through kind of what are the thought process? What should counties be thinking about when they make those decisions? To help you work through the process first so that you can support them in their journey. Questions on that? If not, that's all I have for today. Do you have other questions about, well, I guess anything horse, or state horse show, the changes that are coming? And I'll try to set up maybe one meeting a month, kind of this come and go during the day. If you can make it, great. If not, it'll be recorded moving forward so that I can keep you up to speed on things that are changing too. So when your families have questions or ask, you'll be in the know about those things as well. So not required, certainly, but if you can join, it's sometimes nice because if you go, oh, I have a question, it's easier to ask those questions live, but certainly you can watch the recording as well. So I don't have anything else for you today. You will gain back about a half hour of your time that you committed to me. So that's great. If no other questions, thanks, guys, and watch for an email and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow on the points one.